Hello everyone, welcome to Fableheim and the final Dev Diary dev stream breakdown before the release of Age of Wonders 4, Archon Prophecy. And today we're going to learn a little bit more about the new hero class, the Battle Saint, and the updates to the other hero classes in the Griffin update. As always, this video will be broken into two parts. This first part will be going over the Dev Diary, and the second part will be going over the Dev stream, which both will be linked in the description down below if you'd like to read or watch for yourself. So let's hop in, shall we? Hello there, welcome back to the library. I am Thomas Schweeten. One day I'll learn how to pronounce this, I'm sorry, Thomas. Senior designer at Triumph Studios, and today I am going to speak a bit on the hero class updates coming with a Griffin update, and the new class coming with Archon Prophecy, the Battle Saint. So what actually happened with the hero classes in this update, and why? Well, the gist of what we've done is we took another look at the magic classes we had and tried to see what could be done to improve them. The conclusion we arrived at was that the Ritualist and Mage were both trying to cover too many thematic and mechanical angles. Ritualists represented druids, priests, necromancers, and summoners all at once, while the Mage was covering everything from a wizard to an elemental shaman to a witch casting curses. Some behind-the-scene post-it notes. So the rough early representation of the general plan, yes, the entire board looks like some hard-boiled detective's clue board of post-it notes. Called it. So the mage, the curse, I believe, of the mage went to the warlock, and they also got the necromancy / undead and debuffs of the ritualist. And then the elementalist got the elemental damage dealer, summoning elementals, classic mage, and fire, lightning, frost, and physical, also known as earth. The ritualist went to the ritualist. As a full support regeneration nature focus, so the ritualist is split into like the traditional healing of a cleric and the druid. We'll see a little bit of that in the second part here. Then there's the Battle Saint, which is locked behind the DLC. Little spirit damage, martyr effects, blessing, and healing. I have mixed feelings on the Battle Saint, but of course I'll iron those out once I get my hands on it. This meant that none of these concepts really had enough skills to be fully explored. Thus, I aimed to split the themes from these two classes into three classes instead. The Mage would become the Elementalist, more focused on the Battle Mage role, dealing damage with powerful magic abilities of the chosen element. The Ritualist would remain, but instead of its half dedication to summoning, it would lean harder into full support and healing abilities, allowing for a much more druidic theme, and should you choose to avoid that aspect of the skill tree, a simple but effective healer. Thirdly, a new class would be created, the Warlock, giving us a place for all darker forms of magic, curses, dark sorcery, and necromancy. Lastly, though less directly a new class, would be made to cover a previously lacking aspect, the Battle Saint, who will allow for more divine-themed heroes such as clerics or paladins. Yes, we do finally have paladins to combat the Dark Knight. Here's a picture of an elementalist, not the elementalist, but a elementalist. Mikia the Stormweaver. She's in the... Did he pick her in the dev stream? Anyway, these are characters Thomas made based on other developers for the dev stream. Elementalists are the most pure wizard representing class. They choose an elemental school and specialize in powerful magical abilities and attacks in that element. The old mage class only represented fire and lightning, but there were two more obvious elements missing, earth and frost. The discipline of flame sets this hero on the path to become a master pyromancer, making their basic attacks immediately ignite the ground under the targets, inflicting burn to their target, and granting a lesser evocation to be improved upon in the next level up. So you can pick your element here. Storm, flame, earth, and frost. And there is some mix between the two. Some of them. Not all of them. The discipline of frost. We have the lesser evocation here. Basic attacks gain a 90% of inflicting slowed for 2 turns on non-slow targets. And if they are slowed, there's a 6% of inflicting frozen. The discipline of frost is an action option if you want to make a more control-oriented hero, inflicting slowed to targets upon which they can then inflict frozen. I think we have chaining evocations. We move back over to lightning. The lesser evocation that the disciplines provide you with obviously implies the existence of a greater evocation. Each discipline has 2 options available to it. Cloudburst, Blast, or Frostwind hit an area of effect. Chaining evocation jumps between several targets, and Focus evocation does heavy damage to a single target. The damage type these evocations inflict is determined by the chosen discipline. Thus, a Discipline of Earth Elementalist who picks Focus Evocation will inflict physical damage and stunned, while a Discipline of Frost Elementalist would turn that Focus Evocation into Frost damage and Frozen instead. Aha! I was right. Speaking of the Discipline of Earth, this provides a bit of an unconventional option for a mage character, as they deal physical damage, and the inherent benefit of the discipline being the application of Sundered Armor, they work well in combination with other physical damage units, so most cultural units. To further empower your hero's elemental magic, the left and right path of the tree feature different ways to go about it. This is Elementaling Echo. Basic magic attacks and abilities inflict +1 electrified, burning, or cinder defense against targets already affected by that status effect. This includes status effects inflicted by the same attack, and effects are increased for single shots. Elemental Echo works best for elementalists who seek to pummel down larger foes with debilitating damage over time, or for earth disciplines sundering their armor thoroughly. And there's Amplifying Elements. Attacks gain +1 damage for each unit in combat with burning, electrified, frozen, stun, or slowed. Each combat, for each unit. Amplifying Elements, however, works both for those who spread their flames, but the primary thought behind the skill's creation was to allow Frost Elementalists a more natural target priority. After all, the frozen target is not your priority for damage. This way your hero can freeze opponents and have their frozen forms amplify their damage against the remaining threats. Oh, that's clever, I like that. The Elementals get access to a few additional abilities along their skill paths. Elemental Gateway is a central skill, letting the Elementals relocate away from threats and giving them some mobility they'd otherwise struggle with. It is still quite limited, however. Positioning your Elemental's hero and keeping them out of melee is crucial, after all. Downwards at the bottom, we have Conjure Elemental Spirit, a more thematic inclusion than anything that lets you have the classic wizard-like conjuration or of an elemental. Finally, Jaina can be as she was once upon a time. I guess actually every iteration of Jaina spawns an elemental, doesn't she? The Ritual of Elements is near the bottom. Oh, it's Weaver. Ritual of Elements allows for unleashing a true barrage of evocations if the elementals is positioned right, letting them reset cooldowns and increase their potency until the hero moves. Borrowing a trick from the Ranger. Inexorable casts. Until the end of this turn, all attacks and abilities ignore 10 status resistance. Again, this is going to be insane for the Eldritch Sovereign, I think. Lastly, Inexorable Cast lets them empower their abilities for a turn to all, but guarantee an effective application of their effects, and when upgraded, bypass defenses for a brutal strike. That's this one, I think. There's Elemental Mastery. So basically, it gives 4 resistance of your discipline and +2 damage of your discipline to your basic attacks. For the capstone of the Elementalists, I really wanted to support a sort of ultimate spell ability. Thus, Elementalists ended up with this unique star shape at the bottom of its tree, where each unique ultimate spell is visible. The options you can choose depend on the chosen discipline. The central skill Elemental Mastery grants a significant boost to both defenses and offense based on the Elementalist discipline. A Flame Discipline Elementals, for example, will gain a lot of fire resistance and additional fire damage on their attacks. From there, the Elementals may unlock their discipline's Master Evocation. So Lightning Bolt for Discipline of Storms, Wildfire for Fire, Sunder Earth for Earth, and the Withering Blizzard for Frost. Lightning Bolt is a personal favorite, striking targets in a line and then additionally jumping to additional enemies from each target hit for a shocking amount of damage. No, I'm not sorry. It does look pretty cool. And now for the Warlock, Bapple the Treacherous, Warlock and Connoisseur of Curses. The Warlock is a new addition included in the Griffin update. This new class covers the darker magical aspects such as necromancy and curses. They mix the role of a debuffing battle mage with a bit of support through both healing and summoning. Primarily, however, their speciality is weakening particular powerful enemies and leaving them vulnerable to attack by their allies. The skill tree of the Warlock is divided into 2 separate sections. The larger section on the left covers the more classic battle mage role, while the right section is more support-oriented in the form of necromancy. Within the cursed tree, your hero can choose their primary ability in the form of either the Hex Pact or the Blood Pact. This also gives a good indication of the sort of role this hero will specialize in. We saw some of this in the dev stream too, so there'll be a little bit of repetition later. The Hex Pact is a always hits, free action, H range, Link to target enemy unit. Each turn, the target suffers 1 misfortune, 1 sundered defense, and 1 sundered resistance for a 2-turn cooldown. The Hex Pact is a powerful long-range ability that lets the Warlock link to an enemy unit, which debilitates the target more and more each turn. This must be why they fixed the links, because we're linking a lot. A powerful ability to deal with large, otherwise hard-to-kill targets. Choosing this skill leads naturally into the left side of the skill tree, where the hero can further specialize in breaking morale, or more debilitating control effects such as Misfortune. I'd call Misfortune like a light control effect. Blood Pact. 4 range, free action, link with the target friendly unit. While active, target gains any damage dealt to the caster is dealt to the target as well. The caster gains 20% damage and ignore 2 status resistance. Okay. The Blood Pact, in contrast, is a unique kind of link that targets friendly units instead. But unlike sharing pain or similar effects, this particular link is one of the costs. The Warlock gets a significant boost to their offensive power, but as a cost, any damage the Warlock takes is also dealt to the linked unit. Thus, this ability combines well with expendable units, such as your undead summons. Blood Pact can be further upgraded into the Pact of Eternal Servitude, making the target of your link resurgent and heal as they attack. This lets you use the link on much less expendable units should that be your goal. This tree additionally features Siphon Blessings, a way to remove positive status effects from an enemy unit, and Curse, a repurposed classic that now grants a way to apply your debuffs to multiple targets at once. As the capstone ability of this tree, we have Infectious Affliction, a debuff ability that cascades through all connected targets, giving them afflicted and diseased, which makes them extremely vulnerable to follow-up attacks by the Warlock's allies. On top of this, it is a debuff ability, meaning it is improved by a number of other skills in the Warlock's arsenal. Transfer Life. For range free action, target friendly unit gains 10 temporary hit points and strengthen. This ability cooldown refreshes when units summoned by the caster die or this unit kills an enemy. The Necromancy skill in the Warlock class gives you options to supplement your army with some healing and additional units. The first skill in the tree, Transfer Life, is a cheap heal and buff that costs no action points to use. In return for this power, however, it is only usable once per battle unless either the Warlock makes it kill themselves or any of their summoned units die. This lets it combine well with the expendable undead and the Blood Pact ability I mentioned earlier. Then we have the classic Raise Undead and Dark Ritual. I don't believe these have changed at all. This tree features the Raise Undead and Dark Ritual, giving a choice between a multi-use single-target Raise Dead ability and the more bombastic once-per-combat Dark Ritual, raising a whole heap of zombies at once. I feel like this is probably more useful if you're going like an undead route, and this is more useful if you're not. You know? Like a full commit to the undead. Claim Soul. 1 AP, 3 range, 30 damage. Deals damage to target unit. On target kill, heal caster for 20 temporary hit points. Target non-hero unit is immediately revived as a Whiteborn on the caster side until the end of combat, and caster refreshes all ability cooldowns. Just in general or on kill? This is originally on kill, right? I believe we had this skill in the mage tree. Once per battle. Lastly, we have Claim Soul. Usable only once per combat, this close range finisher lets the Warlock deal damage that ignores defense. Oh. Does it say that? I don't think so. That's cool. If the target is killed and the Warlock heals, refreshes their abilities, and raises the slain as a Whiteborn version of themselves under the Warlock's control. Oh, on target killed. Yeah, duh. The herder. Does it say anything about ignoring defense, though? No. Okay. I'm just going to trust the text. The Ritualist. You look ridiculous. It's like a druidic corpse. It's like nature itself is puppeting this, this ancient. That's kind of a cool idea. Cathmar the Ash Tender, Dead Keeper of the Living. Oh, look at that. Nice little lore. The Ritualist has seen both a lot of changes and not as much as one may expect. It no longer has its summoning or necromancy abilities. Instead, it leans more into its specialization as a healer and support unit. The skill tree can roughly be divided into the left side being skills used before your units take any damage, and the right side focusing on skills about healing and recovery. I suspect someone said in the there's a comment in the dev stream that they felt the nature side was weak. I think this is going to be very strong, like annoyingly so, but we'll see. So the left side is where you will find the Wild Growth ability. Yes, you get to pick. Now split into 2 versions from the start rather than having a rather lackluster start that then requires the upgrade to be worthwhile. True. The Ritualist can choose between Hostile Wild Growth, giving them some offensive ability, and Protective Wild Growth, which gives them a useful option to help units evade attacks. This side also has Awakened Entwine, a skill that lets you animate Flora into an Entwined Thrall, or if upgraded, an Entwined Protector. One of the funny things about the Protective Growth is it's a 1 hex obscuring Flora. It obscures, all Flora does, but it creates mists. Now, if you go for the Tome of Fey Mists, that is very easily abusable. I suspect some funny things will come of this. Especially because there's... the show? No. So one of these, I don't remember which one it is, but one of these turns in from a 1 hex radius to a 2 hex radius. You can just plop down a huge mist field instead of having to generate it slowly. Or YOLO-y, depending on how you choose to do it. The right side instead focuses on healing magic. Here we go. With the first choice between Rejuvenate, which affects units in an area, or Restore, which is significantly more powerful, but also affects only a single target. Unfortunately, they removed my Swift Restore, which is a 1-turn cooldown, leaves you with 1 action. That was my favorite thing to do in the world. It is no more. This set also features other useful support abilities for specific situations, such as Decompose, which lets you deny resurrections and provide additional healing, or Death Ward, which lets you prevent a unit in a high-risk situation from dying before you can give them the proper support. Additionally, the Ritualist has on this side access to 2 unique abilities, Polymorph and Reincarnate. Polymorph is a uniquely offensive ability for the Ritualists that lets you potentially neutralize a particular enemy by turning them into a weakened animal, while Reincarnate lets you repurpose lost friendly units by resurrecting them as an animal of equivalent tier permanently, turning a lost unit into a new ally. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about Reincarnate for most builds. It could be okay. We'll see. At the bottom, where the 2 sections merge, lies several powerful boosting skills that let the Ritualist lean into either summons, through the Entwined Awakening or Living Wild Growth, defense mode warding, or even more healing. But it also provides the choice between one of the 3 right abilities, giving battlefield-wide buff abilities that can only be used once per combat. It's worth noting the penultimate skills are not exclusive, so you can get all 3 of them if you really want to. The Rite of Fury gives a hasten, letting your units advance aggressively, while Vigil braces them for incoming hits when the battle commences. Lastly, the Rite of Restoration provides a solid heal to recover from suffered damage. These are very weak here on paper, but remember, these are support skills, so these will also gain the effect of whatever support passives you picked up along the way. I have a feeling that the Rite of Fury is going to be very popular. We'll see. The Battle Saint, last but certainly not least. We have our first DLC hero class, the Battle Saint. When we reviewed our roster of available classes, there was a trope that was clearly not covered adequately, that of the Paladin and the Cleric. The Battle Saint is aimed to cover these niches. Another one I can think of is the Arcane Archer. I'm not even sure how that would work in this game, but hey, it's odd. What sets the Battle Saint apart from other classes is its versatility as a support/fighter hybrid role. You can build a Battle Saint as a full support hero wielding a staff, a zealous martyr, or a righteous paladin. How about Oathbreaker? It's not very Oathbreakery. Not to mention, the Battle Saint is able to use any weapon except for ranged weapons, which for now remain ranger specific. For now, my handy-dandy notebook has something about this, letting them fill a large variety of roles. The Battle Saint features a unique status effect that they stack on themselves, Fervor. On its own, Fervor provides a bit of status effect resistance, but more importantly, it can be used to boost the Battle Saint's other abilities. The first skill choice for a Battle Saint hero is to choose the archetype they will lean into. This determines the primary method in which they gain Fervor. Cleric will set the hero on the more support-oriented path, gaining Fervor each turn to ensure a steady supply even when using support abilities or entering defense mode. Paladin, in contrast, gains Fervor when making attacks, requiring the hero to be on the offensive to accumulate Fervor, but with a faster buildup, especially in melee, where retaliations provide it too. Then, at the second level, comes the most formative choice of how the Battle Saint hero will operate. This is a choice between 3 active abilities that each utilize Fervor. For full support-focused heroes, Cleric's Fervor is the obvious choice, which provides them a scaling ranged heal. Saint's Fervor is the middle ground, functioning like a Lay on Hands, a free action touch range heal that the Battle Saint can use on themselves or adjacent allies. Lastly, there is the Warrior's Fervor, which cannot target allies at all, but grants the Battle Saint themselves a significant heal, as well as stacks of Strengthened for each Fervor used to really give them a divine boost in the fight. From here, the Battle Saint can further specialize, expanding towards the left side of the skill tree, grants the hero more healing and support focus abilities. Bless lets them give Fortune to friendly units, and by virtue of being a free action support ability, is an excellent method of applying those support effects to units quickly. The Bless ability also combines excellently with Fervorous Disciple, which supplements the per-turn gain of Fervor nicely. Support abilities grant +1 Fervor, and entering defense modes grants +3 Fervor. So the idea is, since Bless is a free action, it'll give Fortune to its target and give +1 Fervor to you. Martyr's Blood. When this unit's total HP reaches 33% or lower, this unit gains Steadfast, and all friendly units gain Grace and Misfortune. Martyr's Blood lets the Battle Saint take immense punishment with reduced risk, safe in the knowledge that they can recover, and that their sacrifice empowered their allies to strike back. The middle section of the tree lets the Battle Saint become an undying zealous martyr, giving them plenty of ways to survive brutal amounts of damage and remain standing, using Warding Bond to take the hits for important friendly units, or Radiant Retribution to deal adjacent damage to adjacent enemies for foolishly striking your hero. The right side of the Battle Saint features the more Paladin-esque skills, auras to buff the hero, and adjacent allies. Condemnation grants the Battle Saint a way to significantly weaken a particular adjacent target for a free action. The capstone skills for the Battle Saint roughly relate to the 3 archetypes as well. The left side providing a powerful support ability that provides battlefield-wide regeneration based on the amount of fervor used to cast it, while ending the hero in defense mode, which combos nicely with the earlier shown Fervorous Disciple skill. Immortal Saint lets the hero return from death after 1 turn, gaining 5 stacks of fervor for their trouble to let them get back into the fight immediately. Lastly, there is Smite, giving the Battle Saint a powerful offensive way to use their fervor. So smite the fool before you slice with the tool. Oh, I guess this is a free action, isn't it? I was going to say, one thing about Smite that I don't like is that it is capped at like 50 damage, but I imagine weakness to Spirit would make this go more, right? What strength it affect? I don't know. But it's a free action, so you can hit them for like 50 damage and then you can swing as well, which is not too shabby. Outro. With this update, the magical hero classes should feel much more distinct and allow for more depth both thematically and in the builds you can make with them. The battle slate included in Archon Prophecy gives you even more new ways to build your heroes, blessing your allies and smiting your foes. I hope that you enjoyed this look at the classes and that it provided some entertaining insight if you wish to try them out. The open beta for Griffin update is accessible on Steam right now. As for the battle slate and all the other goodies shown in the other dev diaries, they'll be releasing alongside the Griffin update on August 12th. I look forward to seeing what heroes and rulers you make. I'm looking forward to it as well, because I haven't decided yet. I've kind of decided. There will be a poll up over the weekend, going up with the finale of the Blint Saga, or the finale of Greg Solis, which is part of the Blint Saga, which isn't done just because the Rise of the Gaudier is done. Yeah. I still haven't played with these, so I still don't really have much context for this. I've had some comments say that Elementalists feels weaker than Mage, which, to be fair, they are trying to lower the power level a little bit. But I also had someone, was this use Scanix, drop like 120 damage with a single attack as an Elementalist, so we'll have to see how it all pans out. But it's time for part 2 of the video. The moment you may or may not have been waiting for. The dev stream. Today, Laura, the Grand Artiste, joined Thomas in piloting away from disaster. They were moments away. Mere moments. I hope this is the right button. This is the Tier 2 monument. I don't remember if I actually showed off its completion. But here it is. Isn't it beautiful? I believe I've talked about the Affinity Obelisk before, but here it is again. This is a tier 3 city structure for the architects. For each stack of Affinity Incarnate, the city gains plus 10 food and plus 10 city stability. This, as you might imagine, can scale out of control. Even with the plus 4 affinity that they had, well, I think they lost some. Even with the plus 4 affinity they had, that's plus 40 food plus 40 city stability. That's a lot. A lot indeed. This is the horse armor for the architect culture. Of course, the architects also have 2 armor colors, so it looks even better on them, but not too shabby. Here is the Starlight Chamber. There's like 2... Are there 3 versions of this new wonder? Look, I caught the glitching. And it's also in Astral... What do they call this? Astral Void Terrain. They put this in as like a chasm of sort for the Blasted Fields. Instead of having... Some of them have water in them, right? Anyway, it's just part of the handmade Blessed Field stuff. There's another one. Look at that. Oh. Fanatic Isolationists can never be counted on to join your war. What a shock. I don't know why, but this character was floating. This is the Elementalist we saw in the dev diary. I don't think that's intended. But hey, I caught it. Thomas made the name for all the cities, and one of them apparently is Manifesticles, which is a name of all time. All time. We saw some of... he recruited his first ritualist, Louis San. And so we got to see the Protective Wild Growth and the Hostile Wild Growth. He ultimately went for a healing thing. Oh, Living Wild Growth. Here we go. I got this too. Didn't realize that. This is the middle choice that's mutually exclusive. Hostile Wild Growth and Protective Wild Growth gain summon 3 living vines for 2 turns. I'm not sure if I like this, but especially since they nerfed the vines again, it could still be good. They can immobilize people. They can be a distraction. I got more than I thought. Grasping Wild Growth makes the Hostile Wild Growth gain base 9% chance of letting immobilize. Hey, look at that. That's going to be so annoying. And then Graceful Wild Growth, Protective Wild Growth gains friendly units gain +1 grace. Yeah, I think this tree is going to be way stronger than people are anticipating. There's the Awaken Entwined. The target floor obstacle transform into an Entwined Thrall under your control, and I believe this passive right here makes it an Awakened Protector. They ultimately went with the healing. The Rejuvenate is a 1 hex radius heal for 15 temporary hit points, which removes 1 negative status effect. They chose the AoE heal because their culture has access to pretty powerful single target heals. The Restore Strength is the middle of the line. Of course, none of this is mutually exclusive, so they could also pick up this left side here. Where Restore gains +3 strengthened, the single target. The AoE is +1 strengthened. There's the Restore. 1 AP, heal 30 temporary hit points, and remove all negative status effects. But they really want to decompose because you're going to be fighting a Necromancer, of course, and they sent this guy off the opposite direction. That's something I would do. This is a free action. I think this is going to be pretty powerful, too. As long as you don't need to use Corpse for something else. But this destroys the target Corpse and creates a Flora obstacle, but friendly units in a 2 hex radius, which is quite a lot, gain 10 temporary hit points and regeneration for 3 turns. Of course, it's a support skill, so I think it would also grant any support stuff to friends. There's the Polymorph. It is a 90% chance of transforming a non-hero enemy into a weakened tier 1 animal for 1 turn. I think the cheese still works, right? Where you can polymorph a mythic unit, get it to break, and then do the subjugation thing. I think that still works. This would be a good way to have access to it. Reincarnate is, of course, the other option, mutually exclusive with Polymorph. Full action, the target friendly corpse is revived and transforms into an element of equivalent tier as the dead unit. Remains after combat ends. Tier 5 units are reincarnated as Tier 4 animals. Someone pointed out a great point, where the Tier 5 animals are... I mean, there's the Kara, but there's also then the Primordial units, which you're really not supposed to be able to get outside of that one particular method. The Ancient Wonder. Rejuvenate. What did I just say? Complete into Enhanced Rejuvenation, where Rejuvenate gains +1 regeneration. I really like that one. And then Hardening Support. Support abilities grant +1 defense. Remember, these 2 things will also affect the rights. So, I mean, that could be very good. Very good. Here's the chaplain. We may have already seen him, but they were debating getting another one, so here he is. The single target heal on him has been buffed to 45 temporary hit points, and it removes all negative status effects. Bless free action gives +2 fortune, +2 strength, and +2 bolster resistance. 1 turn cooldown. Huh. And the Spirit Blasts, single target, 20 damage. So, there's 2 Astral Incarnate here. This is from the Monuments. This is coming from the Monument, right? I believe so. The Monuments in their town. But later on, you'll see somebody who has 2 Astral, 2 Order. And the Order Monument has been destroyed. We'll see. We'll see. Here's Kaya, the Necromancer that was running him down. And we got to see some of the new Warlock stuff, such as the Siphon Blessing, which is a leave with 1 action, steal all positive status effects from the target unit, and inflict status vulnerability. Not too shabby. Here's the Claim Soul. Cannot be used once per battle. Increase accuracy, ignore status resistance, status vulnerability. Doesn't say anything about ignoring defense, but I'm just going to trust. Full faith. She went with the Dark Ritual, which is the AoE Resurrection. And he skipped over Hexpack, but we got to see the Transfer Life, where it gives 10 temporary hit points and strengthen. Already used this battle. Yeah, he was fighting her. It was this battle, in fact. I think she's already dead. This is the Tesseract that can be summoned by the Architect, the Tier 3 support unit, Tier 3 cultural support unit for the Architects. Here he is. This heal. Okay, so this heal. This is a heal. It's only dealing 20 to the bird, Phoenix, but to his own unit is doing 47. And that's because the wording on this text is that it heals based on your Affinity Incarnate. And of course, the Phoenix is a mythic unit, meaning it doesn't have Affinity Incarnate. But Thomas mentioned later in the stream that he thinks that's not working as intentioned, and it's meant to scale off of the Architect's Affinity Incarnate. So if that does get changed in the future, mythic units, and I suppose anything that can't fall under the banner of your culture or your cultural skill or enchantment, will be able to be fully healed. Otherwise, as it stands, is kind of a mid-heal for a Tier 3 unit. But we'll see. Maybe it gets changed, maybe it doesn't. And here's the Earthbreaker with the 2 Astral and 2 Order. I believe... I'm trying to think where this came from. I don't know, this could just be a UI bug. But they also have spirit damage, so I don't know. They did build a level 1 monument in their other city that fell. And it was probably Order, but would it still count? I'm not sure. Not sure. Here is the Affinity Tesseract. It is a tower. Has all-around awareness, control loss immunity. It is a melee mage, so it can shoot even if it's side up. Non-vital, of course, it disappears in 3 turns. Immune to morale effects. What do they have hit points? And they're able to get to the new minor racial transformation, the Virtuous Spirit, which gives them +2 spirit resist. And when this unit drops below 60% of their maximum health, it ignores 50% of its casualties, gains +1 defense, and +1 resistance. Its effect is a bunch of clouds, which is kind of a bad picture for it. But they looked at some of the units afterwards, and as you can see, they're like floating on clouds. Kind of. This may end up being one that I hide, but we'll see. We'll see. Here is their leader. She's looking pretty cool. Someone, I think it was their friend, dropped an Umbral thingamajiggy, and the units that spawned had Griffin mounts. Is this just a new mount type? Maybe. I don't know. But they had them, so that was cool. They can construct the Tier 3 monument. They don't have enough Wonderstone just yet. Getting pretty close. The Tier 3 monument, the Zenith, which by the way is not the final one, there's one more, grants the Architects +3 of its dedicated art incarnate. Units gain +2 lightning resistance. Is it just in general, or is that for this province? Or domain? He made it sound like it was a defensive thing, so it would only apply if they were within this domain. And it would be very strong if every monument you build gives you resistance. Another thing we'll have to test out. The city gains plus 10% food, draft, and production income, plus 20 city stability, plus 3 astral affinity, and of course it still counts as a conduit, which is currently bugged, I think. This symbol here is indicating the monument, but it's supposed to be this symbol. But we'll see. Now, near the end, they got to their, or basically at the very end, they got to their first tier 3 tome, and this is the new Tome of Prophecies. There's one under here, and I got it. I had to go back for it, though, so we'll see it later. There's the Faded Projectiles, which is a unit enchantment for ranged and battle mage units. That's quite the peculiar combination. It grants the enchanted units plus 20% critical hit chance, and Faithful, which is quite amusing. The Prescient Circlets is a unit enchantment for Polearm, Shock, Skirmisher, Shield, and Fighter units. That allows them to gain precognition when they enter defense mode, which allows them to ignore. The unit avoids the next effect of any ability or spell that does direct damage to it. True Strike ignores this effect. So anyone that has like a defense master sort of thing, like the Shock unit, the Earthbreaker for the Architects after it attacks, it enters defense mode, that sort of thing is going to be very, very good with Prescient Circlets. The Oracle is the tier 4 unit from this tome. It is a support unit, so the support only build, maybe not support only, but support primary build is a go. And then there's the 4C Downfall, which is a siege project. At the start of combat, friendly units gain precognition, so they evade the next attack. Plus 10% critical hit chance for the duration of combat, and enemy units gain a 10% fumble chance for the duration of combat. My question is, does this stack with Misfortune? Because if it does, that is a 55% chance for an enemy to fumble if they're at full Misfortune stacks. Not too shabby. We saw the Temple of the Prophet last time. And here is the Oracle. They chose the goat, I think, to show it off. Its Mystic Blast is Astral Spirit. I don't think that's because of their affinities. I think that's because that's what the tome is. An Astral Order tome. But single target, 12 damage, and it inflicts marked, or a 90% chance of inflicting marked, which of course ignores precognition. It has the Striking Portent, which is a 4 range, 1 AP, friendly units in 1 hex radius, gain True Strike for 1 turn, and gain 2 Fortune. 1 turn cooldown. That can't be right. And Healing Portent, maybe it's right. Which is a 1 AP, friendly units in a 1 hex radius, gain 40 temporary hit points, and precognition. So they avoid the next attack. I suspect this is going to be a very annoying character. She also passively has Scrying Eye and True Sight. Scrying Eye makes her immune to flanking, and is immune to becoming distracted. 100 hit points, 3 defense, 5 resistance, 9 status resist. She's going to be a tanky lass. And at the very end, they showed off their background of this whole stream was a cut loading screen from a story realm, and this is another one they showed off. I think it looks very cool. It might even be on the thumbnail. Is it spoilers? Maybe. I have 0 context for this. But it could be. And here is the Battle Divination I missed. This is a buff spell. When cast for the next 2 turns, apply effect to the battle in the following order. So the way this works is that the first turn you cast this, all friendly units will gain 25% evasion. The next turn, the turn after you cast this, all friendly units will gain precognition. And then for the third turn, all friendly units will gain 20% damage for the turn. This is a buff spell of Order Astral. So you know what that means. It also grants Fortune with the Order Magnifying Lens. Or Amplifying Lens, whatever it's actually called. I can never get it straight. Which is insane. So, that's going to remain the best one, huh? That's just going to be how it is. And that is all for the screenshots that I got. I won't be on the spoiler one, just in case it is in fact a spoiler. Who knows? No one has context for it yet, so is it really a spoiler? Whatever, we'll just look at the tome. It's pretty and swirly. And now for the final part of the video, the handy dandy notebook. These are just things that the devs discussed while they were playing the game, and there wasn't really a screenshot for. So, there is a new tactical combat map if you fight on the monument tile. I believe Laura said that each tier of the monument has the same one, so there's not one per tier. That'd be a lot of work for really no reason. There was a question about making water combat more interesting. And Thomas mentioned that it would be quite unlikely to happen. He'd like to have it happen, of course, but it would take a lot of resources that they probably want to spend somewhere else. So don't expect water combat to change much in the future. Someone asked about Planetfall 2, and Thomas's exact quote was, "I wouldn't hold out on that one for a while. We're still very busy." So naturally, end quote, naturally, that confirms that Age of Wonders 4 is never going to die. Done. Thomas's favorite things about the DLC are how the new classes ended up and turned out, and the new story realms, which is a lot of handcrafted custom stuff and a huge, big ol' plot twist. Big fan. The Blimp Saga is very far behind the story realms, but it'll get there one day. It'll get there one day. The Tome of Prophecies. Oh, look, here we are. Behind the scenes has been called the Tome of Sparkles. So, do we just keep that going? Someone asked about if there were any features that had to be cut, and Thomas said that there always are features that they cut just for the sake of time, and sometimes they try to squeeze in a little too many things. Someone else asked about balance, and Thomas mentioned that they're always keeping an eye on it. The commenter was specifically concerned about the balance of the architect culture in comparison to the other cultures. And because the architects, in theory, can scale infinitely, and no one else can. But in practice, the architect's power level should be around the same of the new cultures and the reworked cultures. And he also mentioned that they plan, if they can, to continue rebalancing the original cultures. Someone else made a great point, this is a while ago now, that they never rebalance a culture while releasing a new one. I think the workload is just way too heavy. So if there is another expansion that does not contain a new culture, I suspect we'll see a rework there. A lot of people are calling for the Dark culture to be reworked, and they can add my voice to that call. We'll see. We'll see. There will not be the ability to switch the gender of units. So the Oracle, for example, there will never be a male Oracle, which is that feature not being available is another casualty of the game's modular design. They basically have to recreate every single unit with another gender type for the way the modular works. So, unfortunate, but it is what it is. Someone asked if we can get a rabbit form, which I support. And Thomas hopes so, but of course couldn't say anything about it. And Laura was, as the artist, of course, very concerned about the rabbit ears clipping through everything, which makes sense. And Laura wants fairies someday. I don't know if it'll happen, but hey, she's the grand artiste. Maybe she could just make it happen. Battle Saints can use any weapon except for the physical ranged weapons, the guns, crossbows, bows. But Thomas mentioned that may change in the future. They did it for balance, but they're thinking about letting it slide. We'll see. We'll see. The Tome of Transmutation works for the Architect Wonderstone. So, pretty sure anyway. Is that what he was talking about? That's the Tier 4 Materium Tome that lets you basically build a mine, and then you can convert it into any type of magical material. I believe that worked. He was talking about the Wonderstone for that. But he may have also been talking about the next thing, which is the Voidstone collection. Collect 3 Voidstones to be immune to... it makes you immune to... Oh, it's been so long. Does it make you immune to gloom, or does it give you knowledge based on gloom? I don't remember. But anyway, if you complete the Voidstone collection, that counts for the Vision's magical material set requirement. They're doing the Vision of Magic, or Astral Destruction. And they need to complete 2 magical material sets, and the Voidstone does work. Ironically, the Tome of Transmutation would work for that as well. The only thing that thing checks is whether or not the bar of a magical set is full. Like, is a magic material set full? Yes, you got it. Congratulations. Architects cannot build monuments in non-architect cities. It is the architect city itself that has the building chain. So, technically, on a technical level, other cultures that capture a architect city could build a monument. However, because they can't get Wonderstone, they would never be able to build it. So, this is how it is. The new Ancient Wonder, which we saw in the pretty pictures, is a silver tier Ancient Wonder. Someone asked why it wasn't gold, and the reason they gave is they wanted the new wonders to show up more consistently, and gold wonders are very rare. So all of the new wonders up until now had been gold, so they were kind of less frequent than they would have liked. So now there's a new silver one. The Architect Seal is working on a tenant, yes, possibly. And that is all that I have in the handy dandy notebook. The final entry is that the last dev stream will be on August 14th. So 2 days following launch. And I believe that is also the date of the post-launch patch. We'll see. Don't take my word on that one. That may be what they're aiming for. We'll see if it happens. My friends, like the bird. I didn't even know that was the background. It changed. Well, now I have to look at the bird. My friends, thank you all for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. There's my GoXLR settings. I hope that you enjoyed the Archon Prophecy Dev Diary Dev Stream breakdowns. This happens, of course, every time prior to the release of a DLC or expansion, and this was the last one for Archon Prophecy. I will see you on August 12th with a brand new playthrough. It could be the 13th, depending on how it all pans out. With a brand new series that you'll be voting on very soon. The poll will be live, not quite yet, but it'll be live with the next video. So keep an eye out for that. Join the Discord if you would like to stay updated with everything happening, including when that poll does go live with the grand finale of Greg Solis. Thank you to the patrons and the channel members who support the channel. I greatly appreciate you. And I will see you in Archon Prophecy.